I'm pleased to welcome to Poston Playbook Q&A today, David Freeman. Welcome, David.
Hello.
Few people have spent as much time studying and improving how lawyers build books of business as David. A former New York lawyer turned globally recognized business development leader and coach, David has trained more than 10,000 lawyers. That blows the mind.
Me too.
Across 260 law firms worldwide, helping transform how they do business development and relationship building. David is a two-time best-selling author and was voted the #1 business development coach in the United States for many years, and he is in the National Law Journal Hall of Fame. Over the years, David has developed strategies that have demystified rainmaking, making it easier, giving lawyers clear strategies, helping them grow their practice, and providing them strong advice. Today, you're bringing those systems to a broader audience through your consulting firm, Lawyer BookBuilder. Here at Poston Communications, we were pleased to partner with you this past fall on Mastermind, a series of training sessions for legal marketers to help their attorneys become rainmakers. So in this Q&A, we're hoping that David will share his perspective on why lawyers struggle, why it's so hard to build a book of business, how they can develop habits that make them rainmakers, and possibly some tools that will make their lives easier, because we all know how busy they are and what a difficult time they have prioritizing this. So thank you, David.
Pleasure.
You've worked, as we said, with thousands of lawyers. What's fundamentally wrong with what they do to build a book of business?
The thing that's just so interesting is that people do what they're measured on. And often our lawyers, of course, they're measured on the thing that's most important, which is the billable hour. And so since that is getting precedence, it was interesting. I got off the phone coaching somebody, and we were talking about doing some business development activity, and he used the phrase, well, I could sacrifice to do that. I was like, if you don't mind, can I get in your brain, and can we just swap out that word and use the word invest instead of sacrifice? Because yes, you're measured on billables, so you're thinking that if I'm going to take time away from billables, I am sacrificing. But who are you sacrificing it for? Your future self. And so it's this mindset of investing in your own future that firms need to shift. And this is one of the phrases I like so much, I actually got the trademark on it a long time ago, is culture shift. Mm-hmm. And we have to change the mental culture. We have to change the infrastructure inside of a firm of how things are done, so we can shift the behaviors and shift the mindset.
You have to build your pipeline, right? What you have today may not be there tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's just not the thing that lawyers have ever been trained in. I mean, law schools are doing better now, but certainly the mid and senior level lawyers, this is not what they've been trained in. I was just talking to a firm, and they were talking about a specific practice group where there's no business development going on because they've been fed forever by legacy clients. But that's changing now. And there's a new generation coming up that's never learned how to go out there and to be able to build the relationships that can lead to their own work.
And it doesn't always come natural. Even the networking does not come natural to everybody.
No, it doesn't. And you've got to find where the sweet spot is. Again, the fellow I was just talking to before this, he was saying, there's a certain population that I could invite to this gathering idea that we just created. But, he said, it was funny. He said, they're kind of STEM people. And so they're kind of geeky, and I don't necessarily relate to them as well. Well, I get it. You find your tribe. You go out there and find people that you like to be around. They're going to like being around you. It takes some time. It takes some investment, but it makes it a more enjoyable career. So
it is the long game, David, and that's hard for some people. Hey, I went to this event. I got no business. Well, it takes more than that.
Well, and it's measuring the right thing. I went to this event and then the and has to be different. The and is, and I met 2 or 3 interesting people. And I remember there was a friend of mine, we were at a bar mitzvah 15, 20 years ago. He had been a lawyer in a law firm. He was now inside counsel. We were chatting, told him what I did, and he laughed. And he said, when I used to go to an event like this, my feeling was that there's $250,000 of work in this room somewhere, and it's my job to find it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's interesting. And you just got to
Yeah.
measure, are you meeting people and are you getting the chance to follow up with them? Then nature can take its course after that. But again, we've just got to get their heads screwed on right. And I think that's one of the fundamental issues that firms and individual lawyers have been struggling against for years.
And we've both worked, me as being the head of marketing in-house, and you, of course, in the most recent training session we did in the fall for in-house people trying to help train their lawyers from
Yeah.
their perspectives. Talk a little bit about the frustrations they expressed and what they have to do to help get lawyers on board.
Yeah. I remember one of them said, I spend 90% of my time chasing after lawyers,
Yeah.
getting them to tell me what they did, reminding them to do things. And that's frustrating. And it's actually not the highest and best use of a marketing and business development person's time. So
Yeah.
that is very frustrating. Not having good, again, I say systems and processes inside firms to get the lawyers to be moving on their own. Another thing that I find that I don't think I've come across a firm that's gotten the leadership piece right. And so let's take a look at, we'll call them practice group leaders. Firms could name them differently, but practice group leaders, they've got a group of lawyers that they're supposed to manage. A hat that they don't wear is the sales manager, the marketing manager hat. I mean, those terms may not sit well, but at the end of the day, if they had a job description and they looked at it, one of their most important roles is how do I inspire and motivate the lawyers in my group to engage in more and better business development activity? So back to your question, if I'm a marketing and BD professional in a firm, I would love that the lawyer leaders were doing their job to activate behavior because then I could do higher value work. So
Yes.
there's fundamental institutional issues inside of most firms. And, there's a phrase that I came across that really hit me. This is an engineering problem. Firms are not engineered properly. They don't have the systems and processes in place to be able to activate a culture of business development. And this whole sort of catch-all phrase that I've heard my entire career, over 30 years, we want more of a culture of business development in our firms. But there's not a systematic way to activate that. And so that's where some of the frustrations comes in.
So I know I've been at firms where we have training sessions, and everybody starts at different levels, and you have to have training at different levels for different people. But it's when they go out the door that they find it so difficult. And I know that you are launching a tool that's meant to help people. And I've seen people do forms of this in their own way, that they actually will use their calendar, or they have a spreadsheet and they put down the last time they talked to somebody. But talk to me about BD Buddy. I was really, when we talked before, invested in learning more about it, because anything that can make this easier for the lawyers is worth it. So tell me about BD Buddy.
Yeah, BD Buddy is kind of the compilation of all of what I've seen over my career. So you mentioned the Lawyer BookBuilder program. Lawyer BookBuilder is an online training program that firms can use to help train their lawyers, to get them to come together in cohort groups so that they get to know each other, they're accountable to each other, they build cross relationships, important precursor to action. But one of the challenges that I find in firms is that they say, we're going to do a retreat and bring in a speaker. We're going to run a training program and so on. And they think they've checked the box. But training is not the goal. The goal is consistent action doing the right things. And so CRMs are stepping in and doing parts of this, but there's something that's missing. What I found with a lot of CRMs is that most lawyers don't really use them. It's data entry heavy.
They sometimes deny their existence.
And when I talk to lawyers, I say, so do you have a CRM system? Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So it has the best intentions, but it's not designed the way that works within the lawyer's workflow. So what BD Buddy is designed to do is to basically provide simple action prompts. Here's what certain populations of lawyers in the firm should do every week. On Monday, they get a prompt. Here's the suggested action. On Friday, they get an email prompt. How did it go? They don't have to enter a URL. They don't have to type anything in. They're just going to answer a binary question or a number. I did 1, I did 2 or 3, or a yes, no. All of that is trackable. They get
So there's a
points.
scorecard like.
There's gamification, so they can see how they're doing against each other. The firm, just by clicking that last piece on the Friday, they get all this data. How are our different campaigns going? How are different lawyers in the firm doing? How is the individual lawyer? You can see bands, our junior associates. They're not doing that well. We could do something about it. So there's real-time data that comes in to be able to activate them. So that's
And I
really
think
the
sharing their
simplicity.
success stories too, David, when you get those will be important, correct?
This is all part of that engineering ecosystem. So very often I see firms that will have some sort of an internal newsletter praise section, but a lot of firms don't. And I remember one firm where the marketing person said, oh, I ask people for it, they don't give it to me. All right, can you get 2 or 3 people to do it? Sure. By the time the third person did it, people started knocking on the door saying, I want my story told in the firm. And they want that recognition. So yes, we try to motivate our lawyers through money, but there's a certain point that incremental money doesn't do that much. The recognition, the peer recognition is powerful. So gamifying it, making it fun that way, the recognition, there's a whole different set of buttons that can be pushed. And this BD Buddy thing is just designed to be able to help firms craft what I call campaigns. So
I've
let's
seen
say,
lawyers fight over iPads. I'm going to do this because I want to win the iPad. Gamification, the competitive streak comes out, doesn't it?
It does, just to be able to see where you are on the leaderboard. You can we're creating a feature where we can create teams. So let's see how the New York litigation team is doing against the San Francisco litigation team.
Oh, more competition.
So just more fun competition. The firm could turn it on or turn it off if they want to. But just this whole idea of let's meet lawyers where they are. And one of the challenges is lawyers don't necessarily know what they should be doing week to week to week. And also, they may have a certain plan, but is it aligned with the way the firm wants things to go? So many firms come to me and say, we know that we're leaving tens of millions, depending on the size of your firm, on the table with bad cross-selling. So to put together a cross-selling campaign, let's say a 26-week process where week 1, reach out to another lawyer in the firm in a complementary practice area to get to know each other. End of the week, did you do it?
And that would be the prompt. And
that's the prompt.
As opposed to, okay.
Nothing, it's because look, you look into cross-selling. I wrote a book on cross-selling. There's a lot in there, but we have to give bite-sized pieces that they can do, and then the next thing, and the next thing. Going back to what you said, it takes a while to get the flywheel moving. You got to build momentum. So if we give them the bite-sized things, again, most lawyers don't know all the elements of what they should do. So we can engineer that in with BD Buddy to be able to have a curated set of tasks that move them along that path. Same thing. Yeah, please go ahead.
So I know, having been in-house at 2 different firms, and come September, October, am I getting the frantic calls? Give me a list of every article I wrote. Where was I interviewed? What pitches were I involved in? So I know that often too at the year end when somebody's trying to move up, trying to make their numbers, but want to prove that they did everything that was asked, I'm assuming they can also present a report from this saying, here's what I was asked to do for 26 weeks, and I achieved it, 20 out of the 26 weeks, I did what the firm asked me to do.
Exactly. And it's one level lighter than what you started with. So it's not going to collect, I wrote this article for JD Supra and this and that. That's, again, I'm stepping away from that. That's another thing. And that's where friction is. I don't want to be in the friction. What I care about is, did you do the activities? And, what's kind of cool, and when we were building this, it didn't even hit me until later that, you'll have a lawyer will have this report. Well, if they know the firm can see the report, they're probably going to change their behavior to want to be at 100% each week. You can go to 120%. But to come on in and to show, look at what a citizen of the firm I was, can be extremely helpful both ways. Exactly
what I meant. Yes, absolutely. Just a different part of that review. Well, let's talk about something we brought up before. There's a rainmaker's mindset. how do you build that? What's involved in it? How do you get to have that?
Yeah. Uh, I've got a phrase that I use that lawyers are often tied up in knots, N-O-T-S.
Hmm.
And when an opportunity comes up and or they think about an in-house counsel they should be in touch with, well, they're probably too busy and they don't want to take my call and they didn't return my last two emails. Every reason why not
Mhm.
to do it. The rainmaker mindset is unless they tell me to stop, I'm going to
Yep.
keep going. Now, I'm going to do it elegantly. I'm going to offer value, but I'm going to do it in ways so that someone would at least be neutral, if not positive. And until they say stop, I'm going to keep going. The rainmaker mindset is, as we said earlier, this is an investment in my future. This is not a sacrifice. And it's having a mindset that is willing to continue to keep doing things, to understand how valuable it is. But this whole idea of, and with this tied up in knots, the next piece I often talk about is what I call the 30-second rule. And the 30-second rule is, all right, I just thought about I should reach out to Jane Doe. My brain popped up a knot. And instead, I'm going to take 30 seconds. I'm going to put the negative to the side, and I'm going to try to brainstorm every possible way that I can do it.
Hmm.
And I've just found that to be magic because when we come up with the first knot, we generally shut the door and we move on to something else. But if we take the time to brainstorm, let's see, we went to dinner and they brought up this and you know what, maybe I could make an introduction, whatever the neurons connect in the brain. But the 30-second rule is important. Now, with that, some training is helpful so that you can have tools in the toolkit to think of. And that's where a program like Lawyer BookBuilder and other
Mhm.
trainings that other folks do can be helpful to provide that set of skills internally.
And learning what touch points are, right? If you know and you listen to what they're interested in, or know your clients or your prospective clients, when a thought leadership piece comes out, when something monumental happens at their firm, that's a touch
Yes.
point, and sometimes they dismiss it.
Yep. Totally there. And then building on that, another thing that I think is a mindset piece is never let your echo die.
Mm.
I may meet a potential client. Let's say it was a cross-selling opportunity. Somebody brought me in. I meet the client, they nod their head, I'll keep you in mind. Really? I mean, it's going to
Mhm.
slip away.
Yeah.
So it's my job, mindset of a rainmaker, to make sure that you don't forget me. So
Hmm.
I'm going to send you a piece of something within a month and offer something else. I'm going to keep my product, my service, myself in your mind because I don't want the echo to fade. And that whole idea of keep the echo going is an important thing. Another one, I like to steal quotes. So from Hamilton, I want to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah.
The mindset of a rainmaker is I need to be out there. I need to be where these people are. And then certain techniques of having conversations and getting follow up and so on. But the first big measure is, am I in the rooms where it happens?
Yeah.
And so these are some of the elements that a rainmaker has that I think makes all the difference. They understand that it's a consistent game. You don't just do it and then shut it off and hope for the best. It's something you do over and over. And I live all these values myself. I mean, just last week, I had somebody reach out to me. I sent a proposal out in 2022. I did follow-up emails, didn't hear back, but I was always finding a way to say,
Hmm.
hi, just want to check in, just want to share this new thing, so on. 2 weeks ago, David, thank you for staying on top of it. I actually appreciate that's the kind of follow-up we want to teach our
Yeah.
lawyers, and let's go work together.
Yeah.
It
It's
happens.
the long game. Like I said, it's the long game.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of long game, when does this start? Because, I have in the past at my firms spoken to summer associates. I've spoken to first years, in addition to doing things about don't be stupid on social media. I've talked to them about making sure they stay in contact with their college friends, with the people they went to law school with. Who knows who's going to be in
Yes,
house? Who knows going to become
yes.
CEO of a company? But when and how do you get that rainmaker mindset, and how should it kind of go along the progression? Because obviously we don't expect the same from a second year law
Yes.
lawyer to somebody who's trying to become an equity partner.
Absolutely. And it is very level specific. Pardon me. So, as you were saying earlier, collect people. And one of the things that I have is a thing that I call the memory matrix. Fun name for an Excel spreadsheet. But basically, down the first column is the name of everybody who will be or should be important to you. Lawyers in the firm, relationships you have outside the firm. And excuse me 1 second. Now, a glass of water is important to me. And so collecting those names is an easy thing for an early stage lawyer to do. And then measure that, have touch points. Reason why I like the Excel is because then you could have January, February, March, April, May, and you could just say, you know what, for this person, it should be in every 4-month sequence. It's right there visually right in front of them. Start building that early in the career and then stay in touch. Offer value. Be as helpful as you possibly can be to your friends and stay in touch. That, and then as you're starting to move up, now it's time to start getting out into the world a little bit more. A little bit writing, a little bit of speaking. Somebody I just, again, spoke with today, 6th year. He's going to form a group of like-minded young professionals in ancillary businesses surrounding his practice. He'll be the only lawyer, but he'll invite this professional, this one, that one, starting with his group of friends, and then asking the friends, hey, do you know 1 or 2 other people that would like to be a part of this? And you do that for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you're going to curate a great group of people. And this is where your referral network. Exactly. So now is the time to kind of loosen the soil, fertilize it, throw some water, plant some seeds, and then, the more you do, the better. To me, the big thing is, how big is your network? Do you have a group of people that are high value people? If one lawyer knows 5 people, if another one knows 50, all things equal, I'm betting on the 50.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I would have earlier stage lawyers focus on.
You said something earlier about practice group leaders, and let's talk about practice group leaders.
Yes.
Managing partners. They were, they themselves never got in this to be sales managers, but there's got to be some basics with how they motivate or how they lead to help those under them, because it benefits them. If their group is underperforming, obviously,
yes,
it's a reflection of this. What are some things they can do in this area?
Yep. One thing, because this is so varied, have regular meetings. I know some groups that never meet.
Yeah.
I know groups that meet, but they don't put business development in as a priority. So marketing, client service, and business development, the first agenda item. Number
Agreed.
1, it won't slip away. Number 2, what's the message it sends? This is the most important thing. I mean, I joke about this with folks I coach, but when you get your check, what's the name at the bottom? Or in the top. It's the law firm. No, the law firm is washing money. Basically, it's the client. You are basically being paid by these clients. And so we want to make sure as leaders that our lawyers are always remembering the clients are the gold here. And we have to make sure we're doing things all the time to be able to keep this alive. So make it a first agenda item. Always have some sort of a doable action step at the end of a meeting. Something that gets reported on at the next meeting. Because then it's not just talk, because I hear it over and over. We talk, we don't get anything done. Another thing that I don't see firms do is bring together your practice leaders. Have them come together for training, brainstorming, collaboration, action steps. I mean, I've got this process that I call revenue-focused leadership. And it's monthly virtual meetings where first 15 minutes, we talk about something substantive. Half hour, they break out into groups of 5 or 6. They are prompted to talk about things. They come back in and talk about the action steps. That's turning this on steroids. And so getting that group connected with each other is really, really powerful.
You've heard my sermons in the past to practice group leaders, from how they need to run their meetings and include BD to how they need to work together. And I think the firms that do that will be successful.
It's a piece of the engineering that's missing.
Yes. So one of the things you've talked about is you distinguish between success measures and progress
Ah,
measures.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
I think patience is missing in everybody. But can you explain that? What you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Yeah. And this goes back a little bit to what we talked about earlier. We measure hours, we measure dollars. Those are success measures. That's what comes out at the end of the pipe. But what is the chemistry that goes in to make that come out?
Mhm.
Those are the progress measures. Progress measure could be for younger, how big is your network? It could be, and cross-selling is one of my favorite topics. And so there are three measures that I love in cross-selling. And it's not how many practice areas are we using, because that's a success measure.
Mhm.
Let's measure the things up front. Up front, measure number one. How many times are we having lawyers talk to each other in the firm about cross opportunities, giving
Mhm.
or receiving? Let's measure that. If that first domino gets knocked down, all the rest is going to not automatically happen, but that'll trigger momentum. Measure number two. How many times are we introducing a new lawyer to an existing client? Measure it, make it visible, make it trackable, give recognition, gamify it.
Mhm.
But that's not enough because, as I gave the example earlier, the new lawyer might get introduced 6 months, a year later, when an issue comes up, they might have forgotten about that lawyer.
Mhm.
Three is how many times could that new practice be put in front of that client so they don't forget them? Firms that would measure these three things, I mean, I would like to see the cash register after that.
I'm
So
very
it's those
interested.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very interested in some things you talked about, the new lawyers. My passion project right now is helping firms in their integration process, helping firms
Mm,
recognize it has to be structured, that they really have to do a better job because the rate of lateral failure is so high. And any advice you can give to that group, because one of the things I've said is you're responsible for obviously one thing, and the firm is responsible for another. And I'm saying that in the beginning, laterals have to come in and say, tell me what you're going to do to help me be successful. Who are you going to introduce me to internally and externally? And then also the laterals, conversely, learning the firm so
yes.
that they can cross sell. Can you talk just a little bit about that process and how we have to fix it?
Yeah. 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 You know, since I'm very often talking to the laterals themselves,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I kind of will maybe skew it a little bit, but I'll say, look, this is a 90-10 game. It's 90% on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10% on the firm. Anything the firm does for you is gravy. It's going to be hard to change how the firm operates. That's a little bit different conversation that you and I can have.
Mm-hmm.
But very specifically for the lateral, you've got to make the magic happen. Who do you want to meet? Let's build a plan. Let's show up and blow people away with your
Mm-hmm.
service, your responsiveness, how much you're giving to others before you look to ask for receiving. And there may be
Mm-hmm.
some lawyers that come in from government, let's say. So they don't have clients to give, but they do
Oh,
have
I've seen that, and that's a definite struggle for people making the transition from being a career prosecutor to being a federal government employee.
yeah,
They
but
struggle a
but
lot. They
what
struggle a lot.
very much, but what they can do is be part of a marketing effort. They
Mm-hmm.
could be offering to write. They could offer to speak. You could, use my credentials to help us get in the door. I am
Mm-hmm.
happy to be a team player to do whatever it takes. I will draft, emails. I will push things out. Let me know what my role can be and how I can support this.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do a client service training, I often talk about the wow factor because client service, if I'm going to segue, but I'll come back. Client service is something that every lawyer I've ever worked with thinks they're pretty good at and better than everybody else, which is statistically impossible if I've worked with
And they're
10,000
not.
people,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So then the whole standard of good, better, that's not big enough. The standard I like is wow. How can you wow people? What would the behavior of wow look like? That gets people to jump and to think about things differently. And so, a lateral that comes in and goes to a practice group and says, tell me what I can do. I'm happy to write. I'm happy to speak. I'll take on this. I'll do that. Let me know what I can do for you. That's wow. And then
Mm-hmm.
people naturally, that flips on a reciprocity gene in humans. They want to
Yeah.
give back to people that give to them.
And they
So I,
remember. and they remember it.
Absolutely.
They don't
Yeah.
forget you when you help them.
Yeah. That's the Maya Angelou quote. They'll, they may forget what you said, forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yes.
And so it's that feeling that I think new laterals need to come in and get the firm to feel like this was a great move. So I
Okay.
put it all on the lateral, and anything that shows up from the firm is gravy. Maybe a different webinar or podcast will talk about, what firms could do structurally, but I'm looking at the laser focus of the lawyer themselves.
One last piece of advice, one for lawyers, one for in-house marketing and BD people, about how they can drive change in this area.
Yep. Well, we'll throw out another quote for lawyers, Gandhi, be the change you want to see. Culture is basically a compilation of individual behaviors. And so from a firm perspective, again, if we're engineering and puppet stringing this thing, then we want to get lawyers to do the actions that will come together to create the culture. Short of that, individual lawyers need to realize if I want to have better working relationships, I need to do that. Like, again, the person I just coached a little while ago, he was complaining that the practice group leader wasn't coming through helping him. I said, how many times have you reminded him? Well, I told him once. Well, he has probably forgotten. It's your job to bring it back again, because this is a person that's got their own practice. They're busy. You're not the only lawyer that they're thinking about. So bring it up. Let them know. So I think
in big firms, they could have hundreds of lawyers that they're working with.
Yeah. So I think the individual lawyer, take it by the horns and go and make whatever you want to see happen, advocate for it. Make it happen. Mm-hmm. Build great internal relationships. I'm assuming we're talking to firms here that have medium to large size firms. So really build that network inside of the firm. That can be a great running start. And then for marketing and BD people, to find out what you can do to help support these lawyers, but also to provide refreshers. Because again, I think we talked about how checking the box is something that firms will do. We provided the training. If they don't do it, it's their fault. It's not human nature, certainly not human lawyer behavior, because their focus is on billable hours. So if you gave them a cross-selling training a year ago, do 2 to 3 small reminder sessions on some specific skills within there so they are constantly reminded. And that's part of the game, is being a good reminder system in there. So again, millions of things that marketing and BD people can do from a sort of a technique point of view. But I think big picture, keep it top of mind. Help lawyers remember. And if there's a way to make it fun, gamify it, systems so that it's in their face all the time, that will help as well. Well,
thank you, David. You have so much advice. We could do 10 of these and not even come close to you imparting all the knowledge that you have. But I really appreciate it. I hope anybody on here who needs help reaches out to David. I thank you for letting me work on Mastermind. I really enjoyed some of the conversations with the BD people and able to share some of the things that I'd used in the past. And I think that that they themselves also need to always be looking for help from people like you. So thank you, David, and I appreciate your joining Poston Playbook. Have a nice day.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you so much.